We're here with Sal Fasano. Sal, you as a catcher, are you in favor of that buzz?
The buzz?
Yeah, that buzzer that they have now to call the pitches.
Well, I mean, our guys like it. It does kind of prevent the sign stealing thing. I'm not a big fan of technology on the field.
That's right.
I don't think it's. I think it's going to be easy to be hacked into. But for right now, I think it's okay. But I think there's a lot smarter people than I am that can probably figure out how to get in there and figure out what's happening. So, like I said, it's always been a part of the game that you take pride in as a catcher to figure out how to do signs.
And how to call the game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, do you think that we're implementing too much information on a ball player when it's just a simple game, hit, run, catch, throw?
Well, I don't think, I mean, we've always had a ton of information. It's just how much you can process. Aptitude's always been a big thing with a catcher. It's whether you can handle the amount or not. You know, it still comes down to what the pitcher's strength is and if they're able to execute pitches. If you have a kid who really doesn't have that great aptitude, that's why they don't really catch or they don't last behind the plate. Some of the best in the game have always been good at calling a game and understanding what the pitcher's strengths are and the catcher's or the hitter's weaknesses are. But for the most part, information's good, but information overload is bad. So you're right when it comes to that. It's just what can you take, what can you digest, and how can you implement it? You
know, as a catcher, how much of a psychologist do you have to be to guide your pitcher, to get him what you want him to do, and execute the plan?
Well, it's true. We have to do. We have a saying here. You got to be. It's biblical. You have to be all things to all men. Some guys need a little coddling. Some guys need a little spanking. Some guys need just a punch in the chest, and some guys need a hug. You've got to be able to do anything to get the guy through the inning. And for some guys, they need a little bit more. Some guys need a little bit less.
I'm sure in your time playing, you probably called the pitch that you said, man, this is not the right one to go with. But that's what he wanted.
Yeah, it happened a lot.
And what do you do with the guy? Do you, after the inning, you talk to him, say, listen.
Well, yeah, and that's why we love Travis, because when you're conversational and you're relationship-based, and you put something down that you know isn't the right thing, you can have a conversation with them. And that's what the season's for, is to find out what works, what doesn't work, have a conversation. This is what I was thinking. I know what you were thinking. This is what I would have done different. And when you do that, all of a sudden, you both start thinking as a unit. That's why we like calling it the battery. It's not just us and them. It's working together to find out what the right call is.
Finally, what do you think Bobby Cox, those old school managers, Billy Martin, Earl Weaver, how do you think they would handle having a laptop in a dugout and buzzer, knowing what?
Well, I think those guys would have adapted just as well as our guys are today. I really do. I think that those guys were actually ahead of their time, even back then. A guy like Tony was using analytics probably before anybody else was, and I think
people were laughing at him when it came
exactly. But for those guys, I mean, they were ahead of their times, and I think they would have loved to get some of the stuff that we have today, and I think they would have been great. Great players, great managers, even back then, would have been great today. I truly believe it.
Wow. That's a good point you bring in, because I always thought that they would probably reject all the technology and say, you know what, we're going by our gut. This is how it's done.
We still, Brian still uses his gut, but I think he's embraced all the information that we have, because I think we all want information. It's just we want to be able to siphon what's good and what's bad. And when you look at it that way, it's an easy way to clean up a lot of the crap that you don't need. And that's how I always look at it. Yep. So to me, it's pretty cool. I wish I would have had this stuff when I played.
Wow. Now, your time in New York, your experience, how was that? Because you play with
I mean, being Italian and playing in New York, what's better than that? I mean, it was the greatest time in the world. I always say when you play for the Yankees, it's like it's being a spoiled brat and getting more. I always thought that they were truly a gold standard, and I loved playing for them. I enjoyed my experience with them, and Brian's still doing a great job over there, and I played for the original boss. And Joe Torre was a tremendous manager, and we'd still talk about the great players, the Jorge Posados, Mariano Rivera's, and Bernie Williams. Those guys were the class of the class, and obviously Derek. I'm missing a lot of people, but there was a lot of great lessons that we learned in New York, and you try to bring some of what you had in New York here to Atlanta. At least I did. I loved it.
When did you realize that you wanted your game to continue into coaching and stuff like that? Because, you know, you had a pretty good long career, and you said, you know what, let me enjoy what I've made, and let me go home and enjoy a good meal.
When you watch more than you play, like I did, you realize you had more to offer by your communication, and I thought that it was just like the back of my baseball card is like a road map. But I was able to talk to a lot of really, really good people and learn a lot of good things, and I felt like baseball's given this to me, so now it's my job to share it with everybody else.
Doing a great job, brother.
Well, I'm trying. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your time and courtesy, man. Good luck. I hope you get that ring again.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you.
Be safe.